live broadcast from the Global Prophetic Alliance South Africa, or GPA South Africa YouTube channel, and it is a beautiful Thursday morning in Cape Town. It is very warm already, and we are right in the middle of our summer, which is lovely but very, very warm. And if you are a tad menopausal the way I am, then the heat is just not your friend, just isn't your friend. So, but welcome everyone to this YouTube channel this morning. This 8 o'clock, I go live twice a week at 8 o'clock in the morning. Once on a Monday morning, I go live at 8 o'clock at GMT, South African time, on Facebook Live, and then on a Thursday morning, I go live at 8 o'clock on YouTube Live. And it is just so good to see all of you, whether you're watching live now or whether you're watching the replay. I'm getting straight into what I need to talk about this morning. So welcome everyone, all my friends, all my beautiful Year 2 School of Prophets, everyone who's joining the CWOW GPA family. Welcome to all of you. I'm not going to have time to give my normal detailed welcomes because I have an appointment at 9 o'clock, which means that I need to finish at the absolute latest by 25 to 9 so that I can leave in time to get to my appointment. So good morning to everybody, and just so brilliant, so wonderful, so incredible to see you all here this morning. Okay, so very, very quickly, some announcements. Right, first announcement. I knew I should have written them down. First announcement, there are no more Thirst Thursdays. No more Thirst Thursdays. So please don't arrive at the well this evening because there are no more Thirst Thursdays. I have put a flyer out. I will put something out again today. No more Thirst Thursdays. Okay, we have shifted our Thirst Thursdays to Saturday afternoons. So we are going to meet at the well, 211 Long Street, on a Saturday afternoon. We are calling it Worship at the Well. It's still going to be all about extravagant worship. It's going to be all about, Jesus. It's going to be all about building our worship muscles and building our spiritual muscles. And it will start at 4 p.m., 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you have kiddies, you can bring them with because it's a Saturday. They are welcome to join us. They can do their sport, etc. in the morning and get home and have lunch and a nap, whatever the case may be, and then be at the well at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we are going to worship Jesus and encounter him from 4 o'clock in the afternoon through to about 6:30. So 6:30ish, we will end off on Saturdays, giving everybody time to get back home and do dinner and all of that kind of thing. So join us Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6:30 p.m. at 211 Long Street, Cape Town, for Worship at the Well. And if you haven't been able to make those Thursdays because it's a weeknight and you've got kiddies who have school the next day and all of that, then come and join us on a Saturday. It's going to be magnificent. We have high expectations of what God is going to do in that space on a Saturday afternoon. So please feel free to join us. And then School of Prophets, in-person School of Prophets, starts a week today. So excited for my year ones. In-person School of Prophets starts a week today. Hugely excited for my beautiful year ones. So if you still need to apply, if you haven't applied yet and you still need to apply, you have a small window of opportunity to slip your application form in before we start next week, Thursday. So please do that if you haven't applied. The links are all over social media. If you go to our Global Prophetic Alliance South Africa or GPA South Africa Instagram channel and you click on our bio, the links are in the bio, so you can sign up. There is still time, but time is running out fast and furiously. Right, I think that was the only two. Oh, one last thing. I have put the flyer up on my WhatsApp status, but I don't think I've put it on social media yet. On the 14th of March, I'm speaking. March is International Women's Month, right? So we have our National Women's Month in August. but March is International Women's Month, and so I will be speaking somewhere in Table View. I can't remember the name of the restaurant now, but on the 14th of March from 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be speaking to, and it's going to be all about International Women's Month. We're going to touch on gender-based violence, all of those sorts of things. And it is a cause very close to my heart, gender-based violence particularly, but the wonderful people who have invited me, and if one of those wonderful people are online with me now and know how to put the flyer in the comments, please can you do that? But the wonderful people who have invited me are, they ministry is called Beth Rapha, and it is a safe house for children particularly who come from unsafe environments, and they are looking to raise money for their safe house, and it's such a worthy cause. It's just, as a woman in South Africa, with the levels of gender-based violence that we face in this nation, this is the sort of cause that you cannot miss out on. This is the sort of cause where you should be willing to write out whatever. I think the ticket prices are 300 Rand each. It's not a lot of money, and it is something that, if you are a woman and gender-based violence is close to your heart, then you need to, by hook or by crook, be there, but sign up. I'll put the flyer on social media. I'll put it back. There we go. Radiant Roz, McPherson's Table View. So McPherson's is a restaurant, I presume, in Table View. That is where the event will be held. It has limited space. There is limited space, limited seating available. And so it's not, it's a restaurant, so you can only have X amount of people. Otherwise, you contravene all kinds of legislation. So book your place, pay for your tickets, get yourself booked in there as soon as you possibly can. As women, let us just there we go. Absolutely, Milani. Yes, Milani saying if you can't go, donate to the cause anyway. It is an amazing cause. I personally know the two incredible women who run Beth Rapha, the Safe House, and they are deserving of your support. They really, really are. They are absolutely amazing. Absolutely incredible warriors of the faith, doing something that not many people have the boldness and the courage to do. And so let's support them in any way that we possibly can. If you have a business and you would like to sponsor something for the event, reach out. When I post the flyer, reach out to thank you, my lovely Renal friend. My radiant Renal friend is trying to put the flyer in the comments. She is one of the people who run Beth Rapha. If you have a business and you want to sponsor this event on behalf of women in South Africa, women internationally, gender-based violence, then you contact the contact number on the flyer and tell them that you want to sponsor something. Let's really just pull out all the stops and support this event. It is a worthwhile event. Okay, so that's done. My admin for the day. Don't go and forget everything I've said now. You need to be making notes so that you know to attend. But on Tuesday, at sunset on Tuesday evening, we crossed over at sunset on Tuesday, the 17th of February, 2026, which is this past Tuesday, we crossed over into the new Hebrew month of Adar, which runs through till sunset on Wednesday, the 18th of March, which happens to be my youngest son's 25th birthday. So it runs through till sunset on Wednesday, the 18th of March. That is the month of Adar. The month of Adar is it's an incredible month. And so we're going to pay particular attention to what God is saying this morning. It is the month that contains Purim, or the Feast of Esther. So Purim, or the Feast of Esther, starts at sunset on Monday, the 2nd of March, and runs through till sunset on Tuesday, the 3rd of March. So that is Purim, that is the Feast of Esther. It runs through for an additional day if you're actually in Jerusalem. But if you're outside of Jerusalem, then that is your Purim dates. And so the month of Adar is an incredible month. It is known as the month of joy. It is known as Adar. The name Adar actually means strength. So it's strength, and it is known in the month as the month of joy. So I am trusting that the very first Bible verse that drops into your spirit at hearing those two words is the Bible verse that says the joy of the Lord is our strength. And who of my biblically literate followers can tell me, without looking at Google, without Googling, who can tell me where that verse comes from? Who can tell me where that verse comes from without Googling? No Googling, just knowledge. Okay, because we're gonna pay attention to that. Excuse me if I speak a little bit faster today. There we go. Thank you, my joyful Jolene friend. Nehemiah 8 verse 10. Nehemiah 8 verse 10, and we're gonna have a look at that a little bit more closely. So Adar is the month of joy. It is the month of strength. It is the 12th month of the biblical calendar. The 12th month of the biblical calendar and the 6th month of the civil calendar. So we are at the end of the biblical calendar. The Hebrew calendar has about 4 different New Years, but the civil calendar, where the year actually rolls into the next year, we're only 6 months through that. But just be aware of the fact that this is the 12th month of the biblical calendar, because any ending of years, and no matter which calendar you pay attention to, those are all threshold events, even though very few of the calendars are actually correct, if any, but it is, just pay attention to that. So the month of Naphtali, it is the month associated with the tribe of Naphtali, one of Jacob's sons, Naphtali. And it's absolutely incredible because let me just quickly tell you a little bit about Naphtali. So in Genesis 49 verse 21, Jacob prophesies over his sons, okay? And he says something which, if we read it in our normal translations, the Amplified, the NIV, whatever you have, it says this: Naphtali is the hind let loose, which yields lovely fawns. Okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense to us in our English. Okay, so Naphtali is like a deer who yields lovely fawns. Wonderful. That doesn't make much sense. But in the scriptures, in the complete Jewish Bible, it says this: Naphtali is a doe set free that bears beautiful fawns, or that says beautiful words. So in other words, because Hebrew is a language of puns, it's a language of double meanings, it's a language of ambiguity in some senses, and because so many Hebrew words mean other things as well, as you would know if you've been following me for any length of time, it actually can say Naphtali is a doe set free that says beautiful words, which to me ties together true freedom and good communication. My personal revelation there. And the scriptures, which is a direct translation of the Jewish, is Naphtali of the Hebrew. Naphtali is a deer let loose. He gives words of elegance. So there is something in the month of Adar which contains joy and strength, and then which also contains words, good communication, eloquent words, elegant words. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to that, because that is going to be under attack. So what is the entity that comes against good communication? Leviathan. Leviathan likes to trade in miscommunication, in misunderstandings, in people not hearing what you're saying, people hearing what you're not saying, people not being clear about, not understanding clearly what it is that you're trying to get across. Leviathan is an entity that revels in miscommunication, which then causes broken down relationships, which then causes division, which then causes twist in information. Thank you, my lovely Louise friend, all the way from New Zealand. Leviathan joys in twisting communication. I want you to be on, and it's not, Leviathan doesn't only do this during the month of Adar, okay, let's get that straight, but let us understand that it is during this month of Adar that we learn the tools and the weapons and the things to be able to counteract that. But it is also during the month of Adar that we need to be absolutely careful about what comes out of our mouths. And if I could go so far as to say this, the tone in which it comes out. My dad used to say, when my parents were still married, Both of my parents have passed on now, but my dad used to say, it's not what your mother says, talking about my mother, obviously. It's not what your mother says, it's the tone that she uses. And we as children grew up fully cognizant and understanding what he meant by that, by her tone. And I have made absolute, I am not ever going to be like that with my children. And to this day, I will say something sometimes, and the boys will look at me and say, oh, you sound just like Nan. No, I don't want to be like my mother, not in that way, So let us not just watch the words we speak. Let us watch the tone we speak those words in, okay? Because obviously, words are one way that we communicate. But as a person, particularly as a prophet who is the message, as a person, we communicate on a whole lot of different levels. In other words, we can be saying words and we can even have the right tone, but our body language and the way we're bringing it across is completely, that's not what the other person's hearing. Okay, so let us pay particular attention to this during the month of Adar. And we're going to go on to that Nehemiah 8 verse 10 in just a minute. Keeping an eye on the time, making good time. Hope you're all tracking with me in this extra super fast broadcast this morning. So when Moses prophesied over Naphtali, when Moses prophesied over the tribe of Naphtali, okay, and that was in Deuteronomy 33 verse 23. And this is what Moses prophesied. Of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full of the blessing of the Lord, possess the Sea of Galilee and its warm, sunny climate like the south. In this complete Jewish Bible, it says, take possession of the sea in the south. In the scriptures, it says, be satisfied with pleasure, filled with the blessing of Yahweh, possess the west and the south. Okay, so slightly different translations there. What is so interesting is that the territory that was given to Naphtali, a lot of it was swamp. And so, Jacob and Moses speak about, Naphtali being blessed and being blessed, and this specific territory that Naphtali is supposed to possess, and that they will thrive. The tribe of Naphtali will thrive in that territory. But actually, Naphtali's territory was hugely diminished because so much of it was swamp. Until 1940. In 1940, the Jewish people returned to Palestine and drained and redeemed the area. So by the end of 1940, it was thriving. I want you to, when I tell you these things, it's because I want you to stand in awe of God. I want you to stand in awe of a God that could give Moses a word for Naphtali that I'm pretty sure people in the tribe of Naphtali, when they got their territory, when they saw the territory Naphtali was given, were probably thinking, okay, well, that word makes no sense. How can we thrive in territory where we can only actually occupy about half of it and the rest is swamp? What are we supposed to do with swamp? How do we thrive in swamp? But it might have been centuries later, it was centuries later, but God's word came to pass. God's word through his servant Moses came to pass, where the Jewish people returned to Palestine, they drained the swamp, and that area has been redeemed and is thriving. That is the way God works. Doesn't help to get impatient, because time doesn't mean anything to the Lord. He's outside of time. So he doesn't, centuries, they don't mean anything to him. Some of those prophecies you have received, you need to get them off the shelf and have another look at them. Particularly if they were prophetic words that you received like years ago and you've just never seen, and so you've put them away. Have another look. See what God is doing in your life and see if you can see the direction that he's taken you in for the fulfillment of those words. Obviously, if the words were words from the Lord and not just somebody's pizza from the night before. So that is Naphtali. The constellation in the skies over the month of Adar is Pisces. And Pisces, obviously the fish, speaks of two things: supply and multiplication. supply and multiplication. Pisces, the fish, speaks of two things, supply and multiplication. So this is a month to trust God for your supply, but not just to trust him for just, one stream of supply, but to trust him for multiplication. Trust him for multiplication. Ask God what word he has for you around supply and multiplication this month. Those are two things that fish speak of in the Bible. When Jesus, fed people with the fish, there was multiplication. When Peter found the tax money in the mouth of the fish, that was supply. Supply and multiplication. Ask God. Ask God, because he doesn't just do it, he co-labors with us. Ask God what he's waiting for you to do to fully step into the blessing of supply and multiplication. Okay, so Naphtali, the name Naphtali means to obtain by wrestling. It means to obtain by wrestling. It actually carries a verb meaning to twist and to be cunning. So there is a warning even in Naphtali's name against Leviathan. Okay, but you obtain by wrestling. So the joy of the Lord, that is your strength. The supply and multiplication I've talked about. You might need to wrestle with God. You might need to wrestle with God. There might be things that God has been talking to you about that you need to step out of or step into or deal with that you still haven't gotten there because you don't really want to do that or say that or be that. And God is like, no, you and me, we're going to wrestle now because he's God, right? So that is what Naphtali means. So it is the month of joy. I don't want you to confuse joy with happiness. I don't want you to think, oh, Adar is the month I'm just going to be happy from start to finish. No, if that was the case, we wouldn't need the joy of the Lord as our strength. No, this is a month to stand on that verse that the joy of the Lord is your strength. It is, sorry, I lost my place. Okay, here we go. So Isaiah 9 verse 1. Isaiah 9 verse 1. No more gloom for those who are in distress. Although the Lord greatly humbled the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, he will one day bestow upon them great honor from the Mediterranean eastward. What does Isaiah 9 verse 1 mean? It means Jesus was born in Naphtali's territory. Jesus was born in Naphtali's territory. So Isaiah 9 verse 1, when Isaiah is talking, there's no more gloom for those who are in distress, even though God has greatly humbled the regions of Zebulun and Naphtali, still he will one day bestow upon them great honor from the Mediterranean eastward. And that was Jesus being born in Naphtali's territory. That was the great honor. Barak, Barak from Judges 4, the man who went to war with Deborah, he came from the tribe of Naphtali. Okay, now I want to go quickly to Nehemiah 8. And I want to explain to you what the verse, the joy of the Lord is your strength, actually means. So if we read Nehemiah, I'm sure you must have all read Nehemiah, right? Very interesting story, so many lessons for us to learn there. So here we have Ezra and we have Nehemiah, and they both now return to Jerusalem, and one is rebuilding the walls and one is rebuilding the temple. One is rebuilding the walls and one is rebuilding the temple, okay? And they are not doing that, skipping around the place with flowers in their hair. They are doing that against great opposition. Opposition from their own people, opposition from the other people who occupied the land around Jerusalem, people writing to the king, telling him that they were doing bad things, all that sort of thing, to the point that they were building the wall. The Israelites were rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem with a sword in their one hand. They were rebuilding and carrying their swords at the same time to ward against the people who didn't want them to rebuild Jerusalem, right? So in chapter 8, all the people have gathered together, and Ezra, who was a scribe, they've asked Ezra to bring the book of the law of Moses, or the Torah, which the Lord had given to Israel. Now, these are people who have been in exile. They have been in exile, so they haven't been able to remember. Everyone didn't walk around with the Bible in those days. The Torah was written on scrolls that were kept in the temples, and the priests were the ones who actually read the portions of the Torah to the people. These are people who have been in exile. They know the Torah, because most of them, the men particularly, have had to learn it from small. But they are hungry for the word of the Lord. They are hungry for the word of the Lord. They haven't heard the word of the Lord being read like Ezra read it. They haven't heard that in ages, and they are starving for the word of the Lord. Wouldn't you wish the church was like that today? So they've all the people have gathered together before the water gate. I'm reading from Nehemiah chapter 8, and they've asked Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, and he brings it and he starts to read from it. And it says he read from it, verse 3, facing the broad place before the water gate from early morning until noon, in the presence of the men and women and those who could understand, and all the people were attentive to the book of the law. They had made a wooden pulpit for him to stand on for that purpose, and he had a whole lot of people on one side and a whole lot of people on the other side, and he opens the book in front of all of them, and all the people stand up. And verse 6, Ezra blesses the Lord, the great God, and all the people answer, amen, amen, and they lift up their hands and they bow their heads and they worship the Lord with their faces on the ground. So now there were also Levites there, verse 7, and they helped the people to understand the law, and so the people remained in their place. So the Levites were helping them to understand what Ezra was reading, and the people were remaining in their place because of that. And so verse 8, they read from the book of the law of God distinctly, faithfully amplifying and giving the sense so that the people understood the reading. Okay, but now the people, if you read verse 9, the people are weeping. They are weeping. They have been in exile for so long. They have now traveled far to come back to Jerusalem, which is just really rubble. Okay, they are now working so hard to rebuild the walls, to rebuild the temple. They are, their lives are at risk. There are people saying things about them. There are people being mean about them and being nasty about them and threatening them legally and threatening them physically and all of those sorts of things. And so they stand in this place in Jerusalem and they receive the Torah, the word of the Lord, the book of the law of Moses, and they are weeping because they are so overwhelmed. They are so undone by what they're hearing, by being able to hear the book of the law of Moses read again in a public space. They are undone. They are weeping. They are not living comfortable lives. I want you to understand that. They are not living comfortable lives. They are not, stepping into their home and having a 3-course meal, and they are not living comfortable lives. They are living like the persecuted church lives today, persecuted on all sides. And yet they stood and wept at hearing the word of the Lord read to them. They wept. It's just amazing. And so Nehemiah, because Nehemiah was the governor, right? And Ezra was the priest and the scribe. And the Levites who were teaching the people also said to them, this day is holy to the Lord your God. Mourn not, nor weep. And then Ezra tells them, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet drink, and send portions to him for whom nothing is prepared. Here are the Israelites in Jerusalem it has been brought to dust, trying to rebuild against all odds. And Ezra tells them, this is a holy moment, but it's not a moment to mourn or weep. It is a moment to go and your way and to eat the fat of the land and drink the sweet drink, and send portions to him for whom nothing is prepared. In other words, if you know someone who has nothing, send him some of yours. For this day is holy to our Lord. And be not grieved and depressed, for the joy of the Lord is your strength and stronghold. For the joy of the Lord is your strength and stronghold. So what I want you to understand is when we, sing songs about the joy of the Lord being our strength, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? I just don't know that we fully grasp why the joy of the Lord needs to be our strength. These were people who were weeping. They had been in exile. They had come back to a Jerusalem that was almost totally ruined, if not totally ruined. They are now having to, rebuild under the worst possible circumstances. And they are weeping, and you might feel compassion for them. I know I do. I totally understand that weeping. I've been there myself, just weeping before the Lord and be like, I can't do this anymore. But Ezra doesn't say it's okay, it's fine. No, it's fine. You cry. It's okay. It's all right. I totally understand you're undone and overwhelmed. No, he says this is a holy day. This is the first day that we are hearing the word of the Lord, the book of the law of Moses, the Torah. This is a holy day. Don't mourn. Don't weep. Go and celebrate. They are a people who didn't really feel like celebrating. And they had good reason not to feel like celebrating. And they were overwhelmed and undone by hearing the word of the Lord, because I think they realized how far they had fallen. But Ezra is like, no, be not grieved and depressed, for the joy of the Lord is your strength and stronghold. And so verse 12, it says, all the people went their way to eat, drink, send portions, and make great rejoicing, for they had understood the words that were declared to them. It's just amazing. And then they go on to do the things that the word of the Lord told them, and build booths and do all of those sorts of things. It's just amazing. So I'm going to sum this up very, very quickly for you. We are now in the Hebrew month of Adar, which means strength. It is the month the Hebrew people have named the month of Adar the month of joy, because Esther, right? And, saving their people from genocide. So it is the month of joy and strength. It is the month to remember the joy of the Lord is our strength. It is the month to pay particularly careful attention to what Leviathan is trying to twist in terms of your communication. It is the month to watch what comes out of your mouth and the tone of voice it comes out in. It is a month when you can expect these things to happen. And obviously, as I always, not only this month, this is just the month to pay attention to it, because it is the month also of supply and multiplication. So it is the month that God gives you tools, strategy, blueprint, weapons to see Leviathan off and to receive supply and multiplication. And none of that is necessarily easy, which is why we need the joy of the Lord to be our strength. And as it says in Ecclesiastes, there is a time for everything under the sun. There is a time for everything under the sun, okay? Time to grieve, time to mourn, time to etc. But we need to be asking the Lord, what season am I in here? And if I'm in this month of joy, and I'm not feeling very much joy, because, honestly, really, I would understand. The world is in chaos, and everything that comes out of the news or off social media is just depressing and awful. But our faith isn't in those things. Our faith is in God. Our faith is in God. And so our faith is in our joy. Our strength is in the Lord's joy. so that our faith can be in him. And pay attention, in the Amplified Bible, it says, the joy of the Lord is your strength and your stronghold. And so if Leviathan is a stronghold, the joy of the Lord can be your stronghold. The joy of the Lord is your strength. That doesn't mean that you're going to be skipping around, with daisies in your hair. Unfortunately, I know we think we'd all love to just be doing that, but that doesn't mean that. It just means that no matter what comes against you, God knows, and he has a plan. And in his joy, you will find strength. So do not grieve or mourn or be depressed, but go. Celebrate what you have. Share with those who don't have. Because this is a holy day, and the joy of the Lord will be your strength and your supply and your multiplication. Right, I'm going to love and leave you. That was quick. I'm quite impressed with myself. I got through all of that in 35 minutes. Brilliant. But I now need to quickly go and get to my appointment, my 9 o'clock appointment. But thank you all for being here. Kelly, my lovely, cannot wait to see you at online school. And thank you all. I still haven't figured out how to make the comments live. Various people sent me things, and I still couldn't get it to work. So I'm trying to still. Love you, Shailene. See you on Monday morning at 8 a.m. on Facebook Live. But if you are in the Cape Town area, or if you aren't, but you can hop on a plane and fly down here, see you on Saturday at 4 p.m. at the Well, 211 Long Street, Cape Town. Love you, bless you, see you soon.